Students, I Anil Kumar Swain welcome all of you to the GYANJYOTI online classes. And students, I will teach you today the subject of geography. And in geography, in the previous chapters, we have studied about the interior of the earth. So, related to this, our new chapter is that the chapter number 3, our changing earth. Students, how the different parts of the earth changes from time to time with different types of agents of weather. So we'll study them in detail. So as the name suggests, our changing earth, you know students, earth is the only planet in the solar system which is very unique. It is also known as the watery planet, the blue planet, which have some life surviving elements which helps us to survive, and it is therefore unique in according to all the different planets in the solar system. Students, in the previous chapter we have studied about the lithosphere. So what is lithosphere? This chapter has a special importance to the topic lithosphere. Lithosphere is the solid outermost crust of the earth. And we know there are 3 spheres of the earth. The part of earth, outer crust of the earth, where we live, that is called the lithosphere. The water bodies part, the 71% of the earth is covered with water, that is called the hydrosphere. And the air enveloping around us or surrounding us is called the atmosphere. So, although it's a thin layer, but it's broken into many plates. That is about the earth. It is in many layers. The crust is, we have studied that the inner crust, mantle and core. These are the 3 main layers of the earth. These plates are known as the lithospheric plates. Students, you know that the earth has a very thin layer, the crust has a very thin layer. The crust is a thin layer, but the core is a deeper one, but it is broken into many plates. This is called the lithospheric plates. This moves very slowly and just a few millimeters each year. Students, the place where we live, or our country, let us take the example of our country, they move from one place to another. But in very small amount I can say, that is millimeters, many millimeters or a single millimeter in each year. We just can't also imagine that our earth is, our place where we live, it is moving. This is because of the movement of the molten magma inside the earth. Students, you know inside the earth it is very warmer, very hotter. As we go deeper inside the earth, we feel very hot. The molten magma inside the earth moves in a circular manner. In this movement of the plates, that causes changes in the surface of the earth and causes vibrations. This causes earthquakes, and this is the main reason behind destruction of many places which are already built or not built. This causes, I am trying to say that this causes earthquakes. The earthquakes caused by this movement of the lithospheric plates and vibrations on the surface of the earth, that is called the earthquakes. Therefore the earthquake happens. Students, there is also a zone. Zone means a particular area, that is called the seismic zone, that is divided into, means the highly vulnerable zone for earthquakes is called the seismic zone number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know our district Noida is not in that zone because we can never feel earthquake here because it depends upon the place. Okay. Then students, there are different forces. The main topic we will study from here, that there are different forces that cause these types of movement. What are they? What are the different types of forces that cause these movements? The first one is the movement of the earth is caused by certain forces. These forces are divided into 2 parts. The first one is endogenic and the second one is the exogenic. Endogenic and the exogenic. These are the two types of forces. Endo means inside and exo means outside. Endo means inside. Inside and outside of the earth, if these types of forces are felt, then that is called the endogenic and the exogenic. The surface of the earth changes constantly. Yes, students, now you can see the surface of the earth. What about the mountains? They have not formed now. Or what about the lakes, the ponds? We will study them in detail, but the changes that are brought about by nature as well as by human activities. Human beings construct roads, buildings, dams, canals, and convert vast areas of natural forest into agricultural land. Since human beings are constantly engaged in these activities, the change of the surface of the earth also takes place in due time, and constantly it is being seen. The forces which act in the interior of the earth are called, students, a very simple definition, the forces which act inside the earth. This is a simple interior of the earth, we can say. Are called inside of the earth called endogenic forces. So it changes the forces which act outer or the outside or the surface of the earth. We can say the forces which act on the surface of the earth. Surface of the earth are called exogenic. Are called exogenic forces. Students, it depends that how these forces act inside the earth and outside the earth. The former is termed as the internal process. The first one means because it happens inside the earth, and the latter is called the external process because it happens on the surface of the earth. Students, it's clear? Then when the endogenic forces produce sudden movements, it causes earthquakes, landslides and volcanoes. Students, when the forces inside the earth they suddenly produce sudden movements, then it causes earthquakes, landslides and volcanoes. Students, do you know landslides especially in hilly areas, in mountainous areas? So when part of the earth, especially in the mountains, they come down due to certain movements, that is called the landslides. Slow movements of endogenic forces builds mountains over a period of time, whereas exogenic forces cause erosion or deposition leading to formation of rivers, wind, sea waves. Students, look, inside the earth there is movement, but outside the earth, that is the exogenic forces. So that happens that acts like a agent of erosion in the form of winds, in the form of rivers, sea waves and glaciers. Students, the next topic we will study about is the volcano. Volcano. So volcano, what do you mean by a volcano? Volcano is a vent or an opening in the earth's surface. We can say in the earth's crust through which molten magma comes out suddenly to form lava. Volcano is a A volcano is a vent or opening on the Earth's surface, and volcano is a vent or opening on the Earth's surface or crust through which molten magma comes out. Students, have you seen volcanoes? In India, we can see very less volcanoes because the region, as I have told you, that the different landforms in India doesn't support the volcanoes. But there are some. There we can say there are very rare. But in different countries, like especially students in Japan and different countries, they can see volcanoes at regular places, regular intervals. We can say in regular most of the places. Students, then we'll study about what is magma. There is a word called magma. What is magma? Students, what do you mean by magma? Rocks in a molten state are called magma. Yes, it's true, students. Rocks in a molten state are called students. Can we melt a rock now? You can try in your home. Can we melt a rock? No. But inside the earth, as I have told you that it is very very hot, then it also melts the rock. And when it is in liquid form, the magma creates pressure and forces in its way through cracks or holes on the surface of the earth. Students, have you seen a pressure cooker in your kitchen? What happens when the cook is being when the food is being cooked inside? The pressure, when the air from where it goes, there is a whistle, and the upper side of the pressure cooker, it whistles when the pressure comes out. So this happens in the case of the volcanoes. Then when the pressure is very much high, it comes out from a hole or a vent, we can say opening. Especially in especially volcanic mountains, we can see that. And when it comes out outside, that is called the molten magma. The pressure from the magma causes volcanic eruptions, and molten magma is thrown out. The magma that reaches the earth's surface is called the lava. Magma that reaches the earth's surface, this is called the lava. There are different types of volcanoes such as active, dormant and extinct. Then different types of volcanoes are there. The first one can be active, then dormant, then the third one is the extinct. Okay, students, active, dormant and extinct. Three types of volcanoes are there. Active volcanoes erupt quite frequently and they are generally found in foldings and faulting active zones. The belt of such active volcanoes is found around the Pacific Ocean, which is called the Ring of Fire. Students, some examples of active volcanoes are near Pacific Ocean, rings of fire. Okay students, the rings of fire. Dormant volcanoes are also called sleeping volcanoes. Student, dormant means the opposite of active, means inactive, zero, lazy. Okay students, but they are also known as the sleeping volcanoes. They do not erupt over a long time and may erupt suddenly. So they don't have special time. So they sleep for a longer time and suddenly they erupt out. Mount Vesuvius is a good example of dormant volcano. Students, the second one is dormant volcano. Vesuvius in Italy. Okay students, Mount Vesuvius in Italy is an example of a dormant volcano. The last one is students, the extinct volcano are dead and inactive. Dead means totally dead, they can't rise. There is a virtually no movement made in these structures. Okay students, then we'll study students the major landforms in our earth. That I will show you one of the peaks of volcanoes, then you will learn better and you will understand better. Okay students, now if you will see your textbook, there is a peak of earthquake given here. Okay, so what is that? Please look at this. That this is a mountain and this is an erupting volcano, means the molten magma is coming out of the volcano. As lava runs down, it cools and hardens. Look at this, this is the flowing lava. It comes down to the mountain, to the surface area of the earth, and this is how the sides of the volcano are formed. So this is how the sides of the volcano are formed. This is the volcano, the molten magma comes out, and the lava, when it is hardened, these are the rocks itself. When it is hardened, different types of rocks we can see formed by the molten lava. Okay students, then we will move to the next topic. Major landforms. The next topic is students the major landforms. The earth is a living and mobile planet. Okay students, which is very dynamic in nature. Yes students, as I have told you that earth is a unique planet in the solar system. It has been undergoing changes since times it has come into existence. What we see today, the face of the earth, was the result of the millions of years of geographical changes. Varieties of features like the mountains, valleys, plateaus and plains are formed on its surface. Okay students, these are the differences we have seen. The fact is that how the earth has an infinite variety of landforms. So what are the different types of landforms? The weathering and erosion. Now we will study about weathering and erosion. Then, what do you mean by weathering, students? We must know that what do you mean by weathering. There is a question that will arise in your mind that weathering is the natural process of the breaking up of rocks. Weathering is the natural process of breaking up of rocks. Weathering is a natural process of breaking up of rocks and on the surface of the earth. But erosion is the wearing away of the landscape by different agents. Erosion is the wearing away by different agents. Different agents like students may be water, wind, ice, rain, and there are many elements. There are many agents of erosion. The eroded material is carried away. The material is carried away from one place to another and transported by water, wind, and eventually deposited in a single place. Yes, students, it is not that it will move from one place to another and it will remain in air. They will deposit somewhere. This process of erosion and deposition creates different landforms by the surfaces of the earth. The next one, the next topic we will study about is the earthquake. Earthquakes. So students, as I have told you before that how earthquakes happen. We have also learned that the crust of the earth comprises of tectonic plates, or I have told you that lithospheric plates. The plates constantly move and this is called the tectonic movements. These tectonic movements, students, leads to disturbances within the interior of the earth. The point where these disturbances originate is called the focus of the earthquake. So, when the tectonic plates form disturbances and they originate from a single place, that is called the focus of the earthquake. The point on the earth's surface immediately above the focus is called the epicenter. Friends, above the focus is called the epicenter. Then the vibrations from the focus travels in different directions and that is called the seismic waves. These seismic waves or the earthquake waves are measured by instrument called seismograph. Students, the earthquake is measured by seismograph. The seismic waves travel outwards and cause the surface to shake, and this causes, students, the earthquake. Students, the shaking of the surface of the earth is called earthquake. That I have told you in the previous few minutes. The earthquake can be low, can be medium, or of high intensity. So the earthquake ranges from a faint tremor to a high intensity quake. Therefore, students, the intensity of the earthquake is measured by a Richter scale. So that's an instrument called Richter scale. Students, nowadays we have heard in news that a small vibrant of earthquake there is felt in New Delhi most of the times. So there are some zones where earthquakes are frequently felt. An earthquake can make the ground shake too hard that fans inside houses swing from the ceilings or crash to the floor also. Earthquakes can also make buildings fall apart. Some earthquakes can cause the land to open up. Just look, students, the land to open up. This is the power of an earthquake. Okay, students, this is one of the major changes in earth we can see from times. Then, where to take shelter during earthquake? There are some precautionary measures there. Where to take shelter in the time of earthquake? Safe spot. What are safe spots? Under a kitchen counter, you can say, under a table or desk, where you can take shelter. Away from the outside world. You can hide yourself inside the table. And stay away from such students. You must stay away from places like fireplaces, areas around chimneys, windows that shutter include mirrors and picture frames. And you must be prepared for some activities, some works, duties. Spread awareness amongst your friends and family members and face any disaster carefully. Okay, students, these are some of the measures. Then students, we will study about work of a river. Work of a river. So, what is the work of a river? Rivers are active agents of change. Students, because rivers are always in perennial. Perennial means always flowing from one place to another. So they are the major agents of change. The flowing water in the river erodes the landscape. Due to these, various features are made by the river in the flood plain. So let's go through one by one. The first one is waterfall. The first one is the waterfall. Students, you know waterfall. Waterfall means jharna, we can say in Hindi. When a river tumbles at steep angle over very hard rocks or a down a steep valley, that is called a waterfall. Students, when you see that the water, when the river water falls from a steep valley downside in a manner very fast, that is called the waterfall. When river tumbles at steep angle, direct downside, okay, not in the flowing manner, direct goes down, and over very hard rocks. You have seen some earthquakes. You must have seen some waterfall in your nearby areas. There are very beautiful places, very picnic spots also. In your district also you may have seen. So there are thousands of waterfalls in the world. The Niagara Falls is the most famous. Niagara Falls. The Niagara Falls, students, is the most famous waterfalls and one of the most best tourist spot. It is located on the border between Canada and United States of America in North America. Another famous waterfall in the world is the Victoria Falls, situated in the borders of Zambia and Zimbabwe. So first one is the Niagara Falls, situated near Canada and USA, and next one is Victoria Falls. Okay, students, then next we will study about the meanders. What are meanders? Students, I hope you could have understood about the waterfalls. You have seen also, gone to different tourist places. So students, when the river enters the plain area and it twists and turns, means it doesn't go in the same direction. It twists and turns and forming some river bands, large bands we can say. That is called the meanders. Means when the river forms bands. Forming bands is called the meanders. Rivers, when the rivers forms, as I have told you, bands, this is called the meanders. Due to continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meander, the ends of the meander loop come closer and closer. So, students, what happens when the river flows from one place to another? It takes away most of the things like dust, the mud, then earth, then the pebbles, the stones, and everything. Fossils also from one place to another, and it deposited in one place, that is called the sediments. And the ends of the meander thus forms loop, and they come closer and closer. Okay, students, the next one is Oxbow Lake. Oxbow Lake. Students, what is the Oxbow Lake? Yes, in due course of time, the neck of the meander, so this is related to meander, students, listen carefully. The neck of the meander gets narrower, means comes closer and closer. When the meander's loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off leg, this is called a Oxbow Like students, when the meanders, I will write the definition here, when the meanders, the definition I will write, then you can understand. When the students, when the meanders loop cut out, when the meanders loop cut off from the river and form from the river and form a cut-off leg. It is called oxbow leg. Okay, students. The name is usually something very different, so you may have getting confused, but when the meanders loops cut off from the river and forms a cut off leg, it is called a oxbow leg. Then students, what is flooding? Flooding is caused when a river, flooding means baadana, overflows from its bank, and it can cause the loss of property in the neighborhoods areas of the river and the places in our towns and cities also. Floods come oftenly, and that can cause the damage of property and human beings also. So students, what is floodplain? Then you may have understood floods. What is floodplain? What are the floodplains? When the river overflows its banks during flooding, it widens, and the layers of fine soil and different materials called the sediments, they deposit along its bank. So this can be the formation of a flat area. Students, as I have told you, when the river overflows and it also takes some materials with it, and gets deposited in the nearby plains, and it becomes very fertile. So that sediments, when it is deposited in a plain, nearby plain, that fertile land adjoining the river, near the river, is called the flood plains. Okay, students. Then the next one is, students, the leaves. What are leaves? The raised, okay, students, I will show you the picture also. The raised banks formed due to the overflowing of rivers are called leaves. Students, this is all related to the floods. The first one is flooding, then floodplain, then the leaves. The raised banks formed due to the overflowing of the rivers are called leaves. It is an artificial or natural wall that prevents water from leaving its course. Okay, student, course means the way from where it flows. This is called the leaves. And the next one is, student, distributary. Students, what is a distributary? Students, you know that when the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing river decreases, and a new river breaks up into a number of small rivers. That is called the distributary. Students, one more thing. When a small river joins a main river in its course, so that new river, the former river is known as the tributary. Students, it is not given in the book, but I will tell you that. But when a river breaks into different branches, that is called the tributary. This is called the distributary. Okay, and it flows on different directions. They don't meet at one place another. Okay, students. Then what about delta? We will speak about delta. So, what is a delta? We have read as a river approaches the sea, it flows very slow. Yes, on the way it becomes very slow when it approaches the river. Now as the river begins to deposit its load, each distributed forms its mouth. This collection of sediments form all the mouths of the distributaries form a highly fertile triangular patch of land that is called the delta. So, okay students, when the river flows and approaches the sea, and when a triangular landform is formed on the way, okay students, that is called a delta. Okay students, this was all about the related to the work of river. Now we will study the work of sea waves. As the river is one of the agents of erosion, the sea waves also causes different types of landforms. Okay, so sorry, not landforms, different types of forms of inside the sea. We will study further. The erosion and deposition of the sea waves gives rise to coastal landforms. Yes, this is not the landforms inside the earth, this is the coastal landforms. Sea waves continuously strike at the rocks and cracks develop, and over the time they become larger and wider. So, what are these different types of coastal landforms? The first one is the sea caves. What are sea caves, students? Sea means samandar, caves means gufa. So, the hollow-like caves formed on the rocks by the continuous striking of the waves on the rocky shores are called sea waves. Students, you may have seen in some films also that when the rocks is being cut down by the sea waves continuously over a long period of time, and when a cave-like structure is being made, that is called the sea waves. Then student, next one is sea arches. So what do you mean by arch like this shape? This is called the arch. The sea caves over time become bigger and only the roof of the cave. Students, the next is the sea arches. The arches means this like structure. The sea caves over time become bigger and only bigger, and only the roof of the cave remains. When the sea caves and are eroded, leaving by the roof behind. So that is called the sea arches. Okay students, the next one is sea stacks. What are sea stacks? Students, you must see all this in the sea or the coastal regions, not in the normal landforms in which we live. The sea arches are subject to further erosion. When erosion breaks the roof of the sea arches, leaving only the walls behind, they form isolated stumps and rock left standing in the sea that are called the sea stacks. Then student, the next one is cliffs. Students, what do you mean by cliffs? Cliffs mean mountains or small mountains, you can say. So the steep rocky coast of the sea rising almost vertically above the sea water is called the sea cliff. We can say it is a small mountain near the sea, or inside the sea also some areas we can see the sea cliffs. Okay student, then next one, what are the beaches? The next landform, the next coastal form is the beaches. This is very easy. What are the beaches, students? When the sea waves continuously deposit sediments and along the shore of the sea or the coastline, they form beaches. Beaches, this is very easy, students. You may have visited different types of beaches. Then the next, students, is the work of ice. Students, the first one is the work of the river, the second one is the work of sea waves, the third one is work of ice. How these three factors changes the the different landforms. First one in the land in the crust or the lithosphere area, the second near the hydrosphere, that is the sea coastal areas, and now the ice. Okay students, what are glaciers? Ice also forms an important role in changing the landforms, and it is also an active agent of deposition and erosion. The first one is the glaciers. So what are glaciers? So glaciers are slow moving mass of ice and often called the rivers of ice. It is also known as the rivers of ice. Okay students, they are formed by the accumulation, means collecting at one place, accumulation and compressor of the snow under pressure over a long period of time. Okay students, then what are the different types of lakes formed near the ice or the near the glaciers? When the glaciers erode the landscape by bulldozing soil and stones, they expose the solid rock below, and glaciers are carved out from deep hollows there, and as the ice melts they get filled up with water and form beautiful lakes in the mountains. Especially students, you may have seen that there are some beautiful lakes near the very high mountains or near about the glaciers, the snowy mountains. So this is how it is formed. Then the last one in the work of river, the section is students, what are glacier marines. Okay students, the glacier deposits materials such as the rocks, big and small. Okay students, sand or silt on its path, that is called the glacier moraines. Okay students, the last one is the work of wind, or what can wind change and how it can change. Students, the first one was the work of wind is the mushroom rock. How mushroom rocks are formed. Students, before that we know that wind is an active agent of erosion and deposition in the deserts. Okay students, in deserts in our area also wind acts as an active agent of erosion, but especially in deserts we can see the different changes. The open expanse of the desert allows the winds to blow with uninterrupted force, because in our area we can see different types of mountains, different types of barriers to wind, but in deserts it is fully open, okay, and without uninterrupted force it flows from one place to another. So what is the first one is mushroom rocks. Students, what is the mushroom? So, you know mushroom is, which we eat in Hindi you can say is puttu. Okay, where winds in deserts blow, they hit the lower section of the rock, which gets eroded away and leaving a narrow base like a mushroom, narrow base and wider top, while the lower part is thinner, just like a mushroom. The rocks thus formed are called the mushroom rocks. Okay students, this is the first example of the work of the wind. And second one is sand dunes. Okay students, what are sand dunes? When the wind in desert blows, it lifts and transports sand from one place to another. And when this wind stops blowing, the sand falls and gets deposited at a place, and it makes small hill-like structures. That is called the sand dunes. And the student, the last topic in this class is the loess. What is loess, students? The last one, in deserts, the wind can carry, okay, it can carry grains of sand which are very fine and very light over long distances. When such sand is deposited in large areas, they form loess. And loess soils are among the most fertile among the world, among the different types of soils found in the world. Large deposit of soils is found in China. So you can see this soil in China. Students, the chapter is ended here now. We have studied the different types of agents of students. In this chapter, we studied that the work of, as the chapter suggests, changing the work of water, the sea waves, the ice, and the wind. So this type of factors were acting as an agent of erosion and deposition. This help to form different types of landforms on the surface of the earth and in the hydrosphere, that is the sea area also. Okay students, by saying this, I am saying goodbye to all of you, and I hope you would have understood this chapter. Students, one more thing I want to say at the end, that while watching this video, please refer to the textbook. Then only you can understand. Okay students, by saying this, I am saying tata, bye bye, take care.